we want you to have all your questions answered tonight. We're going to stay, open it up for questions, and we'll be around afterwards, certainly if you have individual questions that relate specifically to just your son or daughter. But sort of the big picture. Dave was saying this is one of our favorite evenings. We get to meet all the incoming parents. This is a significant learning experience, a significant experience in your life when your child goes from 8th grade to 9th grade. And I liken it to when your son or daughter went to kindergarten, not that many years ago. Remember that day? Right? You're about this big, and you held hands, you walked down the street, and you waved goodbye, and you were crying, and they were crying. And it was such a significant moment in your life. Your little baby is going to school for the first time. This is similar. When you look at the development of you as a parent, them as a student, to go from 8th grade to 9th grade is also significant. They are going from a middle school environment where they're somewhat protected to a much greater degree than in high school. Schools are bigger. There's a lot more activities. Going to schools where there are very large parking lots. And there are large parking lots because many of our students drive to school. And that whole headset of independence and preparation for when you finally push them gently out the door 4 years later. So it's not that much time to prepare your son or daughter for what is the next significant transition in their life when they go off and leave your home and go somewhere else. But part of the role of the high school experience is to prepare them to successfully take that next step and go off on their own and have the skills and knowledge and confidence and grit to be able to be successful in whatever that next step is. So think of where they are now and how far they have to go before they get ready for that, that plane ride or that car ride where you take them and you wave goodbye and then you go back to your house. So that's what these 4 years are about. And it's very significant for you as well as for them. We are going to tonight talk a little bit about schedules and how you make sure the schedule works out, and we're going to talk about athletics. We're going to give you information just in general about the high school environment. But the one thing I want to leave you with is you are entering a very special high school district and high school environment here. We're a high school district with 2 schools, basically, Mountain View High School and Los Altos High School. We have a very small continuation high school program. And we also have a program at Foothill College called Middle College. But that's our whole district. At this little section here, you get the superintendent and both high school principals. We're a very small, kind of personalized environment. You don't get that in a lot of high school districts. And we know how important it is to have that personal touch, that personal connection. We have a very highly trained staff and quite a richly staffed high school environment. We have a lot of counselors, we have assistant principals, therapists. This is a complicated organization to ensure that every one of our students leaves the school environment with meeting their highest potential. That's the goal. And personal attention is very important to us. So, welcome to our school district. I think you're going to be impressed. Certainly statistically, if you look at the rankings, we're amongst the most successful high schools in the country. And we have the kind of results we have, even though we have many students on free and reduced lunches, living in almost impoverished conditions, and yet we're very successful with all sorts of students, the entire spectrum. We're very proud of that. So with that, I give you a little foreshadowing. I'm going to talk about technology in a little bit. But before I do, I'm going to pass it over to Dave to talk about a little bit of athletics and schedules.
Yeah, good evening. So a little quick story. I have 2 boys at home. Well, I have 1 boy at home and 1 boy off at college. I have a freshman that goes to a school up in Oregon, University of Oregon, and then I have another son who's a freshman in high school. So I too am a high school parent on top of everything else. And I was in your seats 5 years ago with my wife, and my wife was super nervous, and I couldn't grasp why she was so nervous, and it was because her first child was going off to high school, and I'm like, but I've always been in high school, like, and it allowed me to have a little bit of a mindset shift to understand what she was going through and what a lot of my parents are going through. It's a big campus, and it'll be big and confusing for about 24 hours, and that's it. After that, your students will be, they'll know where all their classes are, they'll see their friends, and it'll become normal very, very quickly for them. Not so much for the parents, but for them. So Jeff, I think last night said that you have to realize that almost half of our kids drive to school, right? And so that's a mind shift change for our parents. It's big. It's a high school campus of 1,900, 2,000, over 2,000 kids, both high schools next year. And yet we do a lot of things at the school to personalize that education. Great support from our MBLA Foundation, and we're able to add things like tutorial center for kids at both campuses. So students are having problems or not having problems and they just want more support, that's available to them. Multiple counselors. You'll have, I've never been in another district in which you have an appointment with your counselor every single year. Every single year you have an appointment, you and your student, that one-on-one connection for a half hour, however long it is, depending on the grade level. But that's a rarity, but we have that in MBLA. So there's just a ton of support. Be ready for your kids, if they haven't already, to tell you that they don't want your support, right? Okay. What they want you is at about an arm's length away to be able to check to see if you're there when they need your support, and yet trying to be independent as well, right? And that independence is natural. We have a ton of ways for parents to be involved in the school. We want you involved even if they tell you they don't want you involved, okay? So whether that's in boosters organizations, PTSA, we have so many activities that happen on campus. It's a place that never sleeps, whether it's robotics, or drama, or choir, or music, or athletics, and I can go on and on and on. And there's parent organizations that support all of those. So my advice, if I can give it, is be there to support them, and yet give them that arm's length distance as they continue to grow. I'll leave it at that for now.
So good evening. One of the things that we wanted to talk about is your students actually had counselors from both high schools on campus with them today. And they probably came home very excited with these green pieces of paper, and they're like, wow, look at all this stuff I can choose, right? So be excited with them, right? But know that the freshman year, there's very few choices that you actually get to make, right? So we're a 7-period day school. We do have a 0 period. I don't make as much use of it as Dave does, but we do have a 0 period, and that's used very limited, very small use for freshmen, right? But what all students will take is an English class called Survey Complet. They will take a World Studies class called World Studies. They will take PE. They get to take PE. That's my favorite line. They get to take PE. Okay? So that's 3, and everybody in the 9th grade takes all the same classes, right? There's no choices, there's no honors, there's no nothing. Those are classes that all students are going to be enrolled in, right? And it's really exciting. Then the next 2 classes are math and science. Now we do have a variety of math and science courses, but the best people to tell you who your students should be, what classes they should be in, are their current teachers. So you need to use your counselor, your new counselor this year. You need to talk to the math and science teachers that your kids currently have, so they will help them pick the right classes. We can sit up here and tell you all the different choices and the combinations, but honestly, your teachers, your students' teachers, know our district really well, and they know the best place to place those students. So now we're at 5, right? So the 6th one for many students would be a world language, right? Because that's a graduation requirement. Well, there's several that fall into that category. But if your student wants to go to college, they need 2 years of a world language, so a lot of freshmen just keep taking that or start at their freshman year. And then the last class is an elective. Okay? There are lots of different electives at both high schools. It could be music that Dave was talking about. It could be art or drama. It could be, we have engineering courses. We have computer science courses. There's just all sorts of stuff, right? More stuff than we probably had when we were in high school. And then we talked about that opportunity for PE. Some students are not excited about PE and they're going to be in athletics. So one of the things that we do is if your student is in athletics and they have 7 classes, during their time of athletics they can actually be excused from PE so they can do homework. So an example would be, in the fall, if I wanted to play football and I had 7 classes, right? During my PE period, I would be able to be excused from that PE class during football season to go to the library, to go to the tutorial center, to go to the college career center, and work on my homework so that when I come home, I have time with my family. So we tell you guys, and your kids will tell you the same thing, you need to choose very carefully, right? And the reason that we want you to choose carefully is because we want you to find balance, right? As your student enters high school, as Dave said, there are so many more opportunities, like almost limitless. Your students are also coming to us doing things outside of school. So some of them may be involved in club sports, they may like to babysit, horseback ride, who knows what they like to do. So as you're selecting your courses, you need to figure out that there's only 24 hours in a day. Dr. Hardy's going to talk about this. Your kids need between 8 and 9 hours of sleep. So you just start the backwards process of how long they actually have to do school and be part of the family and have a social life and whatever else it is that high school kids really want to be able to do. So one word that you all are going to have to reincorporate, and we're really good at this when they were 3 and 4, right? But you're going to have to learn the word no again, right? Because they're going to have so many choices and they're going to become so excited. And you need to remind them that it's a cumulative thing, right? We're not just looking at one class or one activity or one thing. It's this whole big piece. And they need to have time to be kids. I think it's one of the things that we continue to take away from our students is that opportunity to be young. And they don't get to do it very long. As Dave was saying, high school will go by so fast, you guys are thinking, 4 years of high school. And the next thing you knew, you're turning around your graduation. Enjoy this time, but also help your kids set limits. Because as Dave said, they're going to push you away, but they're also looking for some guidance, right? And so provide that for them. And as Dave also said, and it's really true, they outnumber us at the high school, right? At my high school, there's 2,300 kids, and there's like, I don't know, maybe 200 adults if I'm lucky. I need you on my campus to even out the odds, and Dave wants you there too. So please do come and be part of the high schools, but let your kids fail sometimes, right? That's how they develop that resiliency so that when they go away to college, or they get a job, or they, whatever, they know what it's like to be able to pick themselves up and understand that failure is not like this, oh, I'm horrible. It's just another step in life. You just get up and you try again. That's another piece that I think we're really trying to work with our kids on is that you got to try new things, take risks, because this is a safe place for you. So, the thing I want to take away from you is you guys got cool green sheets at home, so when you go home tonight, you're really excited about those green sheets. And remember, there's only 7 periods in a day. So figure out what it is we want your kids to do and what they can handle. Every student is different. And just because Dave might be taking this class and Jeff might be taking that other class, doesn't mean that's what's good for me. I have to figure out what my balance is. Okay?
And may I just say, a normal freshman schedule is 6 classes. There are so many parents that want them to take 7.
Or 8.
Yeah. 6 is a normal load, so just want to throw that out there so you're aware of that. Technology.
Let's talk about technology and balance. Both together. We'll talk about technology and balance. So I'm in my 35th year in this career.
You guys look like you guys.
Yeah. And I have noticed a dramatic shift in recent years when it comes to the mental health of teenagers. And the statistics are alarming. I'll be quite frank. You read about it in the paper. We are seeing a major spike in teenage anxiety, suicide, inability to function. And I attribute this, the statistics and the research is really quite clear, the lack of sleep. Sleep is critical for teenagers, and they are not getting enough. And it's become an epidemic. I am a firm believer, and I've become more and more forceful in my discussions with parents, that these are the cause. They're wonderful devices. We can't live with them, and we can't live without them, that kind of thing. And I believe that the distraction that screens cause for teenagers is impacting their ability to get a full night's sleep And as a result, we have sleep-deprived students every day, more and more sleep-deprived, and less able to cope with the day-to-day functioning of a teenage environment. I know how I am when I don't get enough sleep. Same way for you. For teenagers, it's worse. So, there are some things you can do. Before I get into the solution, though, let me add that we are Bring Your Own Device Schools, BYOD. So not only do we espouse, you got to sort of put those things away, but then we require that every student bring one. So it's a mixed message for us as well. Every student is to bring a laptop with them every class period, expected to be connected. If you don't have one, we will provide one free of charge. Students will get them their freshman year. They have Chromebooks. They're not the nicest machines, but they're certainly more than adequate. And a wireless network, and the expectation is students are connected anytime they want. Phones are, every student has a phone, right? Students, everybody here have a phone? No? So a holdout. That's good.
Keep it up.
Keep it up. So let me tell you about the sleep and the solution that I recommend to you. If you sit down with your son or daughter and you say, you need to be in a seat at 8:10, what time do you need to get up in the morning? And you just work backwards. So 7 o'clock, if you get up at 7, it gives you time, you take a shower, you get breakfast, you get to school and all of that. Okay, you need 9 hours of sleep. The research is really clear. Work backwards from 7, you need to be asleep by 10. To be asleep by 10, you can't be using these things right up to 10 o'clock. And certainly not after 10. What we are finding is an increasing number of students who sleep with these by their pillow. You can't get a good night's sleep when this thing's buzzing all night, when the light's going off. My recommendation to you is that you have a family agreement that these things sit on your counter in the kitchen or in the office or somewhere not in the bedroom at a particular time every day. Moms and dads and Joeys all sit and recharge for the next day. And you come up with a time when that happens. 9:30, 10 o'clock, weekends at 11, whatever you come up with. But you have to have 9 hours between the time this thing gets put away and the time you wake up in the morning. Because you can't get a good night's sleep if this thing's in the bedroom. I had a similar conversation with my wife, who's put this in the bedroom. And the stupid thing, the light comes on and it wakes me up and it buzzes. So we have in the kitchen, on the counter with our little plugs, and we all recharge and we put it there well before we go to bed. You have the authority as a parent to do that in your house. You might not think you have that authority. You do. You own the house. You are the parent. And if you don't use that solution, go online, find some other solution. But absent of a solution, your child will be sleep deprived. And if they don't get enough sleep on Monday and they go to school the next day, they probably won't get enough sleep the next day. And the next day and by Saturday, if your son or daughter is sleeping half the day on Saturday, that's a problem because they weren't prepared to learn on Friday the day before because they're getting caught up. Question?
I mostly, since mine has something to cover that, it doesn't bother me, but I only use it for alarms.
Yeah, there are alarms that aren't like this. You can actually buy them. There's little things like this, and you set the alarm. And so when they say, "Well, this is my alarm," buy them the $5 alarm. It's much cheaper, and they work just great. You probably have a couple in your garage too, right? Old alarms. So that's, and I feel so strongly about this. And the more I learn about sleep deprivation, and the more I see our students yawning and sleeping, and I'm just convinced this is a serious problem. It didn't exist 10 years ago. When was the first iPhone? 10 years ago. And it's only been 6 or 7 years in the history of our species, right? It's only been 6 or 7 years since these have been commonplace for teenagers. We have a gigantic experiment going on right now. And the results do not look good. So that's my message. I want to talk about one other thing. You're probably aware of all the construction that's going on. We're seeing an influx, major influx of new students. They start at the kindergarten level. Just drive down El Camino, they're building like crazy. We are anticipating some 500 to 600 additional students in our two schools, and perhaps more. So as a result, our school district has completed a facility master plan. We're planning where are we going to put all these students, how are we going to have real state-of-the-art outstanding facilities. It was just 2 weeks ago our board approved the facility master plan. This coming Monday, the board will address the issue of how to fund it, and our recommendation is to go out for a major facility bond to invest in our two big high schools. It's a big price tag of $295 million to build additional classrooms, get rid of all of our portable buildings, additional gymnasiums, upgrade all of our buildings. We have nice facilities now. We're going to take it to the next level. We'll have really outstanding facilities for our students for the next generation. So the bond election will likely be in June. So if you see that on your ballot, a little check mark would be appreciated. Any help you can give for in the bond campaign as you hear more about this, but it will certainly benefit your students, and if you have younger children as well. We're very excited about what we're building. So,
When construction stops.
yeah, construction will start. The question is, when would construction start? We have an architectural firm that's already beginning working on design. So as soon as possible, but realistically it'll be at least a year after the bond passes before we can actually construct. School construction is very slow. It has to do with the type of building process. Yeah. And some of the, so it's slow here as well?
Well, we're coming out of, when studying in elementary school, so.
Yeah.
So the Caminos.
Yeah. So fortunately, the buildings that we're creating tend to be on the peripheral of the campus, periphery, and we can fence them off and have easy access for construction crews. But school construction is slow for various reasons. One is because of the earthquake standards for schools. In an earthquake, you want to be in one of these new buildings. Okay? Thank you for that. So we are anticipating some 6 to 7 year construction period from the beginning to the end, phased in. So we'll do certain buildings and we do next buildings and next buildings.
Well, I was going to ask you about questions about the technology. So I don't know how the phone usage is. I know they're not allowed during school classes.
The phones.
It's not necessarily true.
We're a little bit more like you would see in a workplace. Our students bring their phones. Sometimes they can use their phones. They take pictures with them. They communicate with each other. It's a little different than at the lower levels.
We generally ask them to ask their teachers if they can use them. They will generally take them out to take a picture of the homework that's on the board, and that's the way we see it most of the time. I've actually done some surveys, and if the kids have forgotten their device for whatever reason, their phones work, those kinds of things. But by and large, the phones come out to take pictures of something on the wall or something on the whiteboard, or to listen to their music at lunch. Those are the two times I see it the most.
So, do we have other topics, or do we want to open it to questions?
So, if you have any questions for us, we're here to answer those. Now, perfect.
So when you were speaking about the balance, like when you're going from looking at your classes, it's not sounding like there's really that much choice. So when you were suggesting, think about it when you're choosing.
So some of that comes down to, we offer college prep and we offer honors courses in several, well, actually 3 levels after freshman year. So it's a lot about choosing, like you're like a math teacher may say, oh, you really should be in honors math, right? And so honors math, they cover the same amount of material, but honors just goes deeper. So the assessments are going to be a little more difficult. The homework is going to take a little bit longer. You might do outside activities like in science. If you're in an honors science class, you probably read a couple of novels, right? So it's about finding that balance that way. Plus, as Dr. Harding and David said, you can take 6 classes, you can take 7 classes. So part of that balance may be you don't take that 7th class. Maybe you only have 5 academics in PE or something along those lines. It really is a personal choice of what your kids are passionate about.
And if your child is out to be in athletics and different sports teams, it sounds like there's really not room for an elective.
Well,
So if you go over the classes again, right, English, social studies, math, where there's a choice of levels, honors and science, bio honors, PE,
World language.
World language, thank you, that's 6. So there is room for an elective. The 7th class, so if they take 6 plus PE, they don't have to go to PE during the season of sport.
But they can't replace it with an elective.
That's correct.
Correct.
So in other words, what we do is we have a sensitivity for the mental health of our students. We believe that if a student has a full load, 7 classes, and one of them is PE, and they're doing athletics, that really squeezes the amount of time in the day. So we give them a pass on the PE to be able to do homework during that class period.
I understand that, but, I'm sorry, I'm taking notes right here, but like if my son wanted to do engineering or, computer science, that's really not an option.
It is.
That's their
That would be their elective class.
If they take sports, I mean. if
No, they can take that, they can take 7 classes, they can take 7, and take a sport, because sports are not inside the school day at Los Altos. They're a little bit of Mountain View, but you can still do it because you'll go to 0 period PE. So you can have 7 classes and do a sport.
I thought that the parents have these, if you sign up for 7 period PE, if your kids are gonna be on the sports teams.
Well, that's.
What school, what's
No, it's-
7th period PE?
Yeah.
No.
I have a
So generally at Mountain View, what my freshmen do, my freshman athletes, that are interested in taking 7 classes. So there's a couple of different caveats there, all right?
Those are students that have multiple sports.
They even could have one, but most of them have multiple sports. What they do is, they end up taking 0 period PE. We have 2 sections of it. If they get into 0 period PE, while they're enrolled in it, during their seasons of sport, they never attend it. Don't even have to get up, right. Go through a waiver process, it's a form, within a week, they're done. They don't go to it anymore,
Even in ninth grade.
even in ninth grade.
Especially 9th grade, because by the time you
Actually,
get back to
in ninth grade.
it's only 9th grade that we do the waiver. Every time else, sports counts as PE.
Oh.
It only doesn't count as PE at the freshman level because at the state of California, freshman PE is very prescribed. And so because of that, you can't, it's a different process, you can't count the athletics as PE at the freshman level.
Can I add on a question to that though? So taking that freshman athletic sports person, who's probably gonna have a team to go to during the 7th period or a
Yes.
team. And one of their other periods will be world language. You can then not take something like STEM or computer engineering or something like that, right?
No?
No?
So you still have 7 periods, whether it's 0 to 6 or 1 to 7. And it's in 7 periods, once again, right, English, math, science, social studies, foreign language, PE, and 1 elective. You still have the elective as the 7. You can take the STEM Academy, for example. You take marching band, you take whatever. Yeah.
Now, I do want to say this. I'm a proponent of athletics. I'm a proponent of everything. Athletics would be one of those. And I have a child that plays multiple sports. And what has hit my youngest now is he's played football, he's playing basketball, he wants to play baseball. And I'm having those conversations with him about stretching yourself too thin, right? Like it happens, it doesn't just happen in the classroom, it happens elsewhere too, whether that's playing the piano or being on an athletic field or whatever that is. Just try to help your students navigate that as well. Because I love athletics, but there becomes a point where it can become too much. So just kind of keep that as a little advice, keep that in mind.
We're talking about athletics before we move from it. High school athletics is different than middle school athletics. Your son or daughter is participating in middle school level, a much greater time commitment. Many of our sports are cut sports, that you have to make the team, and the time commitment is significantly greater than you might be accustomed to. So that transition from 8th grade to 9th grade can be difficult. The homework load is going to be more difficult. I do want to make a quick comment about homework. We are sensitive to the mental health of our students. As a result, our board has recently passed a homework policy which provides homework-free periods throughout the school year. For example, homecoming weekend, at both high schools, homework free that weekend. Thanksgiving break, homework free. The holiday break around the Christmas, New Year's, no homework. That's a real departure from what we've done in the past. So there are various times throughout the year where go on a vacation, no homework. Winter break, the one that's coming up here next week, next week after, no homework.
I'm glad you
So
said that.
that's significant for our students.
Are the sports played at the same time? Like if they're playing football, they want to play basketball, they don't have to do that.
We have three seasons, fall, winter, spring.
Okay.
And there's 5 sports in the winter, which is really, it's wrestling, girls and boys basketball, girls and boys soccer. In the fall, I want to say it's 6 or 7. In the spring, there's like 90, but I exaggerate. There's a lot more in the spring.
But it's badminton,
But-
competitive golf, teams that you don't see at the
Baseball.
middle school level.
Baseball, softball,
Lacrosse.
Boys tennis.
Boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse.
boys tennis,
It's
girls
a full
tennis.
team.
All of these are things you have to try out for.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
so
there are a few
Like
sports,
golf, so if your kids.
golf is highly competitive.
Golf and. want to play-
we're not great. We're okay.
But to make the team,
It's a very small group. It's like the golf team is maybe 12 kids.
Both the schools?
No, each school has their own. And there's boys and there's girls, right? So, but it's small.
Yeah, there's certain sports that are non-cut. So track is non-cut, swimming is non-cut, cross country is non-cut. Matter of fact, the bulk of the sports that are cut are actually in the winter. Soccer is a cut sport, basketball is a cut sport, and then wrestling.
water polo, the girls water polo.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a full competitive athletic program.
Question about marching bands. I understand that marching band is not accredited curriculum, but jazz is.
No.
No. Marching band is accredited, and actually, on top of that, it actually, starting in the sophomore year, they can receive PE credit for it.
So it is accredited. That
Uh-huh.
sounds for their, the art credit.
It does.
I thought they said it was not.
Not for issue, but for high school.
Marching band in high school. I couldn't-
Marching band in high school, you get credits, you get a grade, it counts towards your performing arts as you figure out what your high school graduation credits are. When you hit your sophomore year, you get PE credit for it. So it counts.
Is there
We have-
a, what, 3-month
Right here.
course?
counts as an F credit. No, it's only one.
I've been looking at the UC doorways. I now understand what the question is. It's a little bit different from the way we
Yeah, I'm not
Yes,
talking
ma'am.
about UC, I'm talking about graduation credit.
For graduation, it does satisfy
Yes,
does.
yeah.
graduation, we're
UC,
positive of that.
CSU,
And we have major, very large marching bands.
yeah.
Who's going to London?
We are.
Going to London, in the New Year's?
We're in the New Year's Day parade in London.
It's coming.
Not we, I'm not going, but
Our
our students
schools,
are.
it was last spring break, we had 5 international trips all going at the same time. So very common. Uh-huh.
I have a question about the, honors program and the non-honors program. So if you choose, like, for example, you choose a math honors program, and, in the middle of, the term, the student is not feeling, very confident, is feeling not well, is that a possibility for them to, like, drop down to the normal program?
So that's very difficult. As we grow larger, what happens is we build our master schedules based on demand, right? So if we have 200 kids sign up for honors and we have 200 kids sign up for college prep, we build classes for that. So what we tell students, and you will sign an honors contract that explains all this, that if there's room, we'll try to do that, but we make no guarantees, okay? So that's why getting your current teacher's idea about what your student should be in is critical, okay? Because they will know best, right? And if the student is completely failing, we do our very best, but it's not, I don't use the word fair, right? For our college prep kids to have their class sizes bumped way up because kids chose honors and then we try to drop down. So we do try to protect not only our students but our teachers in terms of staff ratios. We're pretty good about helping kids find the right space. And it usually happens way before October or November. We usually know by, middle of September whether things are working, and we'll try. We'll try.
Yes?
For like sports, like most sports, so like I want to join the football team. Would practice be in the morning or in the afternoon?
Yeah, well, practice starts well before school starts. Dave, you want to talk about that?
Oh, wait, are you talking about in the school day, or are you talking about the year?
He's talking school day, but I'm gonna talk
Okay,
about.
there you go, I just want to make sure you got it right.
Yeah, so generally athletics starts after school, and at Mountain View it's right around 3 o'clock. When school gets out, 7th grade, next year, so 3:30. But we have some students that take 7th period and join the team after that. It gets over at about 6, about a 3-hour practice, 2.5, 3-hour practice, so you have that kind of time set. In the fall, which are, let's make up my sports right, it's girls golf, boys and girls water polo, football, volleyball, girls tennis, cross country. Got them all.
Yep,
Oh, and field hockey at Los Altos.
and same for like,
Those sports start, we start school next year on August 20th. Those sports start practice, I believe the date is Friday, August 3rd.
yes.
So, just so you're aware of that, they start before school even begins. And actually, many sports actually do some stuff in the summer after school gets out. Your students cannot do anything at the school until they have graduated, been promoted out of the middle school, so you're aware of that.
So can I answer your question? So basically, sports practice is in the afternoon. There's only one sport at Los Altos that practices in the morning, it's boys volleyball. And it's just because it's a gym space, so they play 6 to 8 in the morning. But everything else is after school. And depending on which school you go to determines what time it starts.
Okay. One more question?
I'm not from the United States, so I don't know as well, so what's the difference between honors and college prep?
That's a good question.
It's
That's
actually-
that's a very good
Great,
question.
so there's actually 3 levels, because the AP.
The question is,
What's the difference between honors and college prep?
And advanced
And
placement.
advanced placement.
So our regular track classes are college prep courses. We have to submit them to the UCs. The UCs give us, say, yes, that qualifies as a college prep course, okay? Honors would be the next level, or next level in depth. So it's more rigorous. And then there's another level called AP, which we haven't talked about because most of our freshmen don't take AP courses. But AP is advanced placement courses. The College Board certifies those courses. And our students can take those courses, and at the end of the year, they take a test. And they score on a scale of 1 to 5, 3 or higher, then they're given college credit for those courses as well. Okay? So we have plenty of students that walk into college with college credits already in hand. Those are freshman level college courses.
Did I answer your question? Did it do it?
And then there's a point that between the honor classes and the AP.
So in grade point average, we, in DLA, gives an extra weighted grade, we call it a weighted grade point, 1 extra point for all honors and AP courses. But, I'm going to throw this in there, when your students apply to college, the colleges choose how the GPA will be computed. So while we compute it that way, that doesn't mean they compute it that way. So it's important to note that as well.
so they may, oh, sorry.
Go.
Okay. So they may say, okay, you took an honors class, which makes it an A instead of B, but we don't think it is, we're gonna call it B.
Yeah,
They
so
wouldn't do it by course, they would do it across the board. Some universities don't give,
Geometry honors is an example.
or they can only take 8 AP courses. A lot of schools do that. They give you 8 courses to get the extra grade point, but after 8, they don't count. Things like that. And each individual university can have its own format and structure for how they calculate their own grade point averages.
your counselors will go over that with you at some point.
What did you say, honor was an example of?
I think the freshman year, most colleges don't count the honors point for geometry.
There's a website called UC Doorways. I tried to open it. That's why I took my phone out tonight to look at something. I was actually looking for marching band, and it happens to be closed tonight, of course, which I've never run across before until today. But on that list, UC Doorways, you just put the name of the school in there, and it'll tell you if the UCs have given that honors class an extra, counted as a weighted course. basically the level, the way it rules is this, the UCs. It's always if UCs are given honors course one below whatever the AP course is, that's when they'll offer it. So in math, in the math sequence as an example, the class the honors class right before the AP, because we have AP calculus A, B, and BC, the class just before that would be trigonometry honors. So that's the only one that gets the actual weighted grade point. But we give all honors classes graded. Okay, I probably confused you
I'm
more
going to
than.
wrap us up here. Time, yeah, go ahead.
From year to year, can kids navigate in and out of that honors and
Sure.
college prep? Like,
And we have open access honors and AP courses to sign up, and they can access those courses, really up to student-generated interest.
They're gonna get a lot of coaching about that though,
Yes.
teachers, counselors, because what we really wanna make sure is you that your students are prepared and successful.
right,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if
But
you
we
think
have-
that if they don't go into honors as freshmen, there's no opportunity to go into
Right, so
honors.
my son didn't take honors geometry, he took honors algebra 2, he took honors trig, then he decided he wanted to take AP calculus. So I mean, you can flip in and out with all of it, it's not just math, it's English.
So the three of us will be here afterwards. We want to thank you for coming out tonight. Welcome to the school district. We're very excited about having your son or daughter join our schools. We're sure it'll be a great experience. And students that come from Graham, I can tell you, have a rich history of being successful. So I'm quite confident that they're prepared to make that transition.
Do you say that's all?
I don't say that to all our middle schools, but the students from here, I can tell you, do very well. Any other comments? Okay, we're here. Thank you for being here tonight.